So we need some endpoints to create our CRUD operations, typically post, read, delete and update. So we need a get endpoint to get all the articles. So this could be one of the endpoint which returns all the articles. So since we'll be having a bunch of article, so we'll be returning a list of article. So since we have not defined a key inside this, so we'll be adding a key, that is an ID. So we can have another endpoint, get endpoint, to find an article based on this ID. And this would return a single article object, since we'll have only one article object for a particular key. So this is our primary key. So before we discuss further, let's discuss the data types of these. So this is one of the simplest diagrams that I could draw to show you the MVC architecture that we're gonna use for our project. So here we'll be sending some requests from an external client. So here in this case it would be a Postman. So this could be anything, some React application or some another front-end framework. So then the request will go to our Spring Boot application. So in this we'll be dividing that into 3 layers. So first is the controller, so which will accept all the requests. Then that request would be forwarded to a service layer. In the service layer, we typically write our business logic to modify or change the behavior of our data and such things. And finally, it will go to a repository layer, which will further push that request into a database source, which will contain all the data. In this case, I'll be using MySQL. Finally, we'll be getting a response back to our client, in which case it's a Postman. So let's code each of these layers and write our RESTful endpoints. So since I mentioned that this is our base package and every class that you create in Java needs to go inside this, otherwise the Spring won't pick it up. So before we start with our MVC layer, so let's write our model or our domain class, which is article. So we'll be adding all these attributes inside that article. So let's write it down. So here I'll be adding any packages inside our base package. So I've added an entity package and inside that I'll create an entity. So here I've created article entity. So let's define our variables. So the first thing that we need is an ID. So this is a primary key. So this ID will uniquely define one article. So we can take it as integer, but if you think integer value is small, then you can move it to long or big integer. So now we'll keep it as simple and make it as integer. The next thing are title, description and name. So these things will be a string. And finally we'll need a timestamp. So that's it, our fields are ready. So first of all we'll be adding some getter setters. So like I said, we'll be using Lombok. So let's add some annotations for that. So this is an annotation called getter and we also have an annotation called setter. What they will add is some getter setters for all our fields. So now we'll need to map this entity towards our database. So for this we'll be adding some annotations that will be helpful in our CRUD operations. So one annotation is at entity. So this literally tells that this class is an entity and it should be mapped to a table in a database. So now how SQL will know that this is related to which table? Then we have an annotation for that also, so which is called table. So you should know that I'm using it from JavaX Persistence and not from any other libraries. So I want to map my article entity class to a table called article. So I will do that with this attribute of this annotation. And here I will specify the name of the table. So this tells that this class should be mapped to this table. So we need to map our attributes with the column of this table. So the first thing is we need to specify that this is a primary key, and that we do it with at ID. So this basically tells that this is a primary key of this entity. So before we move forward with our entity, let's quickly set up the application.properties or the YAML file. So first of all, let me quickly rename it to application.yaml from application.properties. So we do not need to change this port settings. So 88 is fine for us, and that is our default port. So before I talk about why I'm using YAML, let me add certain properties. So here I've added some properties in the application.yaml file. So let's first talk about why I chose YAML file instead of properties file. So I've quickly converted this YAML file into application.properties file. So you can clearly see the difference between both of them. So the one thing that I like about YAML file, and that's why I use it, is because of its non-repetitiveness. So let's take an example. If you want to specify the data source username and password, you have to specify spring.datasource 2 times, but here you have to just specify it once, and you just have to maintain an indentation, and based on that indentation it will automatically assume that this property URL is part of data source, which is part of Spring. So it's basically spring.datasource.url. So now you know the difference between both of them. You can use any of them. So let's quickly go through what these are. So this specifies your data source. Here I'm using MySQL. So this is basically the host address of that MySQL. So it's running on 3306 port, and this is the name of the database. This is a username and password of MySQL. This is the dialect that we need to specify for MySQL, and this is something which I will tell you later on, and this is just the property name. So if you add this property DDL auto of spring.jp.hibernate, so what would happen is, by default, whenever you will write these certain annotations like entity at table, this will create tables directly for you, or this will create the entire schema for you. And if you remove this won't create. So I'll show you in just a minute what this means. So this is my MySQL workbench. So let's create a database. So naming it as in shorts. So right now the database doesn't contain any table. So what we would do is, we would use this Hibernate's DDL auto create functionality, and we would let this entity annotation create this table by itself. So how would it know that where to create the table? It's from these properties file. So here it knows the host URL as well as the database where it wants to create the table. So this is generally not a good practice to create table with the help of Java, but let's explore this first. So now we know this is the name of the table that would be created, and these would be the attributes. But how would it know that under this table what would be the columns? So every attribute in your entity class would be treated as a column, and the name would be by default these. So let's say you are not happy with this name and you want to add the name as added underscore by. So you can change that by writing add column annotation, and inside that you can add your own name. So let's say you want it added by. So instead of creating the by default name as added by like that, it would be created as added underscore by. So let's keep it simple and let's leave it everything as it is. So one thing to note is that Java would identify these data types, and it is smart enough to decide what the data type would be in the SQL. So we can also define a sequence from our Java code. So we can do that by writing this annotation called add generated value, and this will accept some attributes, and that is this. So when we will be creating an article, we only need to specify the title, description, and added by along with timestamp, and we do not need to specify what would be the ID. It would be generated automatically by SQL. So the first article would be 1, the second article would be 2, and so on. So let me run this main application and see what happens. So it's saying that the Tomcat server has started on port 8080 and our application has started. As you can see, it has already created a table called article, and the name is same as the one we defined in the annotation called at table. So if we do not specify the name would be directly same as the name of the class. So you can see that this is a primary key. So now we're ready with the database part. So let's quickly write our RESTful endpoints.